Turkey is a country between Europe and Asia, with a vast population, a powerful military, and a strategic location. Turkey has dreamed of joining the European Union, or EU, for decades. But the ride has been bumpy, with political fights, cultural conflicts, and talks that have gone nowhere. Now in 2025, something big is changing. The US has withdrawn its support from Ukraine. Europe is rethinking its security, and Turkey is stepping into the spotlight. Is this Turkey's moment to join the EU finally? Let's follow this geopolitics story and find out. Turkey's wish to join Europe isn't anything recent. It began back in 1963 when Turkey agreed with the then European Economic Community, presently EU, that it would be joining at some stage. Official negotiations began in 2005 but were stalled by 2018. Why? In part, due to things such as democratic backsliding, human rights concerns, and an age-old row with Cyprus, which is an EU member, got in their way. Turkey has long been an important regional player. During the Cold War, it was a valuable NATO partner in opposition to the Soviet Union, and its strategic location also made it a commercial bridge between East and West. But EU membership? That's been a slog. By 2018, negotiations were essentially stalled. The EU accused Turkey's government of drifting away from democratic principles under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. In turn, Turkey believed the EU wasn't serious about opening their doors to them. It appeared to be an impasse. But here's the important point. Turkey is already bound to the EU via customs union since 1995, in that they already trade heavily, with 40% of Turkey's exports going to the EU alone, valued at more than $100 billion annually, as Turkey's trade ministry reported in 2024. So, in economic terms, they're already partners. Now the question is, will they take it to the next level? So why are the EU and Turkey back in everyone's mouths in 2025? The answer is a huge geopolitical shock. On March 3, 2025, the U.S. cut all military aid to Ukraine after a tense meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. That was a bombshell for Europe. The U.S. was Ukraine's biggest ally in the struggle against Russia, supplying billions of dollars worth of weapons and information. Now it is Europe's turn. That's where Turkey comes in. Turkey boasts the second-largest NATO military, at over 350,000 active troops according to NATO's 2024 numbers, and a geopolitically ideal location on the Black Sea bordering Russia and Ukraine. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Turkey has played an interesting game. It sent drones and warships to Ukraine, but remained in touch with Russia by not participating in EU sanctions. Since America is going back, Europe needs stable partners. Reuters quoted diplomats on March 13, 2025, as considering Turkey a key potential partner for restoring European security. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk even visited Ankara, calling on Turkey to help bring peace to Ukraine. Erdogan himself said that European security without Turkey is unthinkable. Suddenly, Turkey's role in the future of Europe appears greater than ever. Let's suppose Turkey joins the EU. What then? First, the figures. Turkey is home to over 85 million citizens. That's greater than any current EU country. It would immediately be a heavyweight, but potentially strain EU budgets as Turkey's GDP per head of around $14,700 in 2024, states the World Bank, is below the EU mean of $38,000. Economically, Turkey would gain entry to the whole single market of the EU, creating trade and investment. Turkish citizens would be able to move and work in the EU, something that could lead to cultural exchange but also integration issues. Politically, it's more difficult. The EU requires robust democracy, free media, and human rights. Freedom House's 2024 report awarded Turkey a not free rating, citing media censorship and arrests of critics as issues. Turkey would require significant overhauls to reach EU standards. And then there's the Cyprus problem. Greece and Cyprus, both EU members, vehemently opposed Turkey's membership until it's resolved. There is a downside, however. Turkey's military strength and position may be the EU's strongest shield against threats like Russia. And while the EU is building its own defense force, shelling out 800 billion euros as documented by the European Commission in March of 2025, as reported by The Conversation, Turkey's location may become a game changer. So, will Turkey become an EU member? That's the big question, and honestly, there's no clear answer yet. Europe needs Turkey more than ever right now. The crisis in Ukraine has shown how much Europe leaned on America, and leaders like France's Emmanuel Macron and Germany's Olaf Scholz are pushing for a stronger, more independent EU defense. Turkey could be a key piece of that puzzle. On March 12, 2025, Politico reported that Erdogan urged Russia to embrace a ceasefire in Ukraine, showing that Turkey's ready to step in and help. It's the kind of move that could impress EU leaders. But there are some major obstacles. Many EU countries, like France, Germany, and Cyprus, still aren't convinced. Talks have been stuck since 2018, and getting them moving again would take a lot of effort. Turkey would need to prove it's serious about reforms, and the EU would have to decide if they're ready to welcome a country with such a strong, unique identity. The ending of the story is still up in the air. Turkey's EU membership process has been a long-standing issue. In 2025, the US reducing its support for Ukraine has once again put Turkey in the spotlight. It's a huge military power with a great location and a history of trouble with Europe. Is this when Turkey finally makes it into the EU? Or will long-standing issues keep them separated? Only time will tell. What do you think about it? Should Turkey be in the EU? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this dip, hit that like button and subscribe for more geopolitics content. See you in the next one.